We Americans worry about all types of things that can harm and kill us, but we tend to ignore the biggest risk activity we all do: driving. In 2022, 42,514 car accidents led to death, and 1.6 million crashes resulted in injuries. Out of all the things we worry about, the highest risk activity we all partake in is driving. This is a photo of a family member's car after she was in an accident. Thankfully, she was not injured. Here's a photo of the tree we destroyed and uprooted during an accident I was involved with as a teenager. Thank God none of us were hurt. But recently, several teenagers at our church were killed in a tragic car accident. Teenagers are at a high risk, and that includes your child, who is now learning to drive. Did you know a 16-year-old is 20% more likely to be killed in a crash than an adult? Is that a risk you're willing to take? If the answer is no, there is a way to decrease the risk and equip them for becoming a safe driver, not just for themselves, but everyone on the road that they come in contact with. It's a training program called Street Survival by TireRack.com. Let me take a step back and just tell you how I discovered this program, and then after that, we're going to dive into me taking my daughter through the program and whether or not it was worth it.
When I had my marketing company, I had this guy that worked with me. He loved cars, he loves the racing track, he went to the track, he just enjoyed something about engines and fast cars. As he was working for me, he told me about this street survival training course. He told me this was one of the best training programs for a new driver. So I bookmarked that, and that's probably 15 years ago. Well, now I have a daughter who just is about to turn 16, and I remembered what he told me. I checked out the program, and I have taken my daughter on this training program, and in this video, I'm gonna talk about that course, how it was. I'll share some footage from the experience and tell you where I've landed on whether or not I'm gonna take my other 4 kids through that process. So the Street Survival program is broken up into 2 main parts. Half the day is in classroom teaching, and the other half of the day is on the course, training, driving, practicing in the vehicle. As a parent, I actually got to go through the classroom experience, so I got to watch all the teachings, the videos, and all the education that my daughter got as part of this program. And then for the actual driving practice, I got to watch that. We would go on the course, come into the classroom, go back onto the course, come back into the classroom, and we went back and forth throughout the day. And at the end of the day, we went back to the course and did a few more practice activities, and also got to watch an airbag go off. 2, 1. They have this concept called Be Smart. The first part is the S, stay focused on driving. M, make preparations before you begin. A, avoid all other activities. R, rely on passengers. And T, text, post, or talk later. So that's how to be smart. On the back side of the card, they have top 10 things to remember. Eyes up, look 10 seconds down the road. Eyes out, scan your surroundings, be situationally aware, aka the 360-degree bubble. Mirrors, eliminate those blind spots. One of the things that we did on our van is we got one of those circle mirrors and we put it on the corners of both of our rear view mirrors so that when you're using the rear view mirrors, you can see that blind spot. So I'd recommend that. I'll put a link in the description below if you want to check out those on Amazon. Sit up, sit in a seat properly, pay attention, limit cell phone use, no texting. Hands on, 2 hands on the wheel at all times. Pull, not push. Pull down on the steering wheel, not so close. No less than 3 seconds behind the next vehicle. More for semis. Look for their mirrors, more spaces in bad weather. Know your car, everything working right. Do your maintenance, know your tires, check your pressures. And then number 10, mind your manners. Drive appropriately for conditions. Bad weather, slow down. No road rage. That's how to be smart. Those are the top 10 things to remember. As a parent going through the program with my daughter, it was actually a good reminder for a lot of things that some things I just didn't know that I learned for the first time that were novel. But for the most part, a lot of the things were reminders of things that I'd forgotten or things that I just hadn't emphasized. And so that was a positive experience for me as the parent going through that program. We did the program in 2025 and it was only $125, which I was surprised. For a full day of training, this type of training was just, I was expecting it to be a lot more expensive. But part of the reason that it's so affordable for so many people is because it's done primarily through volunteers. And so a lot of the people there that are doing the training for the individual drivers, they're there on their own time. They're there to make a difference, to make an impact, to help make our roads safer. From the Street Survival website, here's what they say about the volunteers. All coaches are experienced volunteers having instructed at driver education schools ranging from car control to winter driving to high performance driving. They are a mix of teachers and enthusiasts that have been exposed to all levels of car control techniques. While they continue to enjoy various disciplines of auto racing, rallying, and competitive autocrossing, they also possess a unique ability to communicate all of their experience in a manner that gets through to the teams. Whether it's their commitment to safety or their enthusiasm for driving, it adds up to a truly unique hands-on day of learning for your young driver. Thank you to the volunteers that helped make our day possible, and thank you for the volunteers that will continue to make this day possible for others. One of the dynamics that comes with having a middle school and a high school child, and just the experience of growing up, getting older, going through adolescence, and becoming an adult, is you stop listening to your parents as much as you used to when you were little. As you get to those middle school and high school years, you start listening to your peers more and other adults. And so this training program is a great opportunity for you to emphasize the things that maybe you care about, or the safety of driving, the importance, the stakes involved. They can learn and hear the insights that maybe you want them to hear, but that they won't hear from you. These volunteers will be of all different ages. We had younger ones, older ones, and it was a good mix for my daughter to experience getting that feedback from different people in different points of life and different perspectives. Now, the idea behind the program is that by giving these kids an opportunity to drive in these extreme scenarios, driving fast, braking fast, weaving in and out of different obstacles, driving on wet surfaces, hydroplaning, skidding, drifting. All of these different types of experience give them hands-on practice for these types of scenarios that they're going to face in the real world. And the idea is that if they face it in this controlled environment, they can learn and practice without there being a fatal mistake or an injury that could come from it. And so I want to read how they frame it so that you can understand, what this course is for and what it's like and what the aim is about. Real world hands-on. When your team driver attends a street survival school, we teach them to control your car in unpredictable situations based on its handling limits. They master the application of driving physics using their car. They learn how to make good driving decisions and react more quickly. They become more aware and learn how to begin anticipating the actions of other drivers. One of the things that the Street Survival School recommends is that you bring the vehicle that the team is going to be driving in, practicing in, and using most of the time. By using that vehicle, it gives them the opportunity to actually practice on the vehicle that they're going to be using. And so if it's an SUV and they're practicing on a car, or a van, it's just going to be a different experience, the weight of the vehicle, the way the handling. So it's really important to bring the vehicle that you're going to. And on that note, I have a funny story to share. So you'll notice that we got some nice new tires here. One of the things to be aware of when you do this is that they are doing extreme driving, so it's going to put some wear and tear on your vehicle. And because we've got a full-size minivan here, it's a heavy vehicle. And so going high speed and then braking at high speeds, doing lots of turns and twists and spinning around on the pavement is going to do some wear and tear on the tires. Unfortunately, on the way home, I ended up driving over a nail and it damaged one of the tires, so we had to take the tires in to get looked at. When my wife did this, the guy who was inspecting the tires called his colleagues to review it, and he just is like, something doesn't seem right here. And so he's like, ma'am, these look like racing patterns on these tires. You seem like a sweet mom. Why would you be using this vehicle to race? She ended up telling them that my daughter went through this street survival program and we use this vehicle, and that's where the wear patterns that were similar to racing. When you go take your own vehicle, it's going to wear your tires out. Understand that there is a cost to the program, but there might also be a cost to replacing those tires. As you consider taking the street survival program, there's a few things you need to be aware of. One is it does require the student to be between 15 and 20 years of age. They need to have their driving permit, and they want them to have had it for half the time that they would have the permit. So if it's a year-long permit process, they would like them to have it for 6 months. So that's going to vary and differ by each state. And then they'd also like them to have at least 25 hours of driving time. So those are a few things you're going to have to work into your schedule before you actually go to the training program. The other thing is that you need a liability waiver, and both parents have to sign it. So if both parents are not in the same city that this is taking place and they can't both show up and sign it in front of them, then what you're going to have to do, and what we had to do because we were driving from Atlanta to North Carolina, is we had to get it notarized. So we got the liability waivers, we got it signed, and then I had my wife sign it with a notary and got that notarized, and then we brought it with us so that Madison could partake in this training program without my wife being on premise. One of the things that the driving volunteer said about my daughter is that she had great confidence, and apparently that's something that a lot of students struggle with. When it comes to new drivers, they lack that confidence, and as you know, as an experienced driver, having confidence is a really important thing. You gotta act and you gotta move. You can't be timid. You have to just take your action and move, otherwise you can actually cause more harm. And so having confidence is something that can be hard to instill, and so for my daughter, it was more about having that confidence to be a safe and effective driver. So at the end of the day, I would definitely recommend the Street Survival program. It was an awesome experience for me, for my daughter. I think it's going to make a big difference, and this is something I plan to take my other 4 kids through. So I'll be going through this 5 different times, probably at 5 different locations, so we'll see how each of them are. But if you're thinking about doing the Street Survival program and you'd like to have your student driver, your child, be a safer and more effective driver, I would highly recommend the Street Survival program by Tire Rack. And if more of us do this, we'll have safer new drivers on the road, and that will help us keep the roads safer and less injuries, less stress, with more of us getting to the places we want to go without facing the consequences of something catastrophic or tragic happening along the way. I'm Jason Scott Montoya. I'll see you on the next video.